Welcome to the Moms I Know with Sheila Walsh-Dunton and Maria Anderson-Farner. Two moms on a mission to reclaim childhood and take you from surviving to thriving on your parenting journey.
Having your child's back means meeting their needs and feelings above the expectations, opinions, and eyes of others.
Hi, this is Sheila.
And this is Maria.
And we want to welcome you to the Moms I Know. Thank you, Tamara. That is a quote from Tamara Iglesias, who we are super glad to have on our show this morning. Tamara is the founder of WellyNest, which is a conscious parenting company dedicated to raising whole beings from the very beginning. Coaching mothers and fathers alike, Tamara helps empower families to live happy and nourished lives. Her mission is to shift the way we raise our children by bringing the awareness of self into the parenting journey. As parents, when we heal ourselves, we can heal our children and ultimately heal the world. Consciously parenting from a place of respect, cultivating deep trust, and creating healthy boundaries is essential. When parents are supported on their own healing journey, as well as supported and inspired to use conscious words, act with intention, and slow down to spend quality time, children can develop into fully realized, emotionally healthy adults, allowing the entire family to thrive. I love it. I'm so excited to talk with you this morning because that is exactly what Maria and I believe in. And we need to, as Maria said earlier, we need to amplify this message. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with how you came to be in this position. How did you come to know that conscious parenting is so important? Because you have, a big claim here of this is how we want to change the world. And I totally wholeheartedly believe in it. And so how did you get to this place?
So of course I'm asked this often, and I think like other things, it's not a one direct answer. What I've shared before and I continue to share is I believe that this work has been a life's journey for me. So initially it was a personal, conscious, spiritual healing journey of self to drop into my awareness and my healing and my responsibility of who I am and what's important to me and why I was put on this planet and what my purpose is. And I think in constantly peeling that away, I was in a place to receive the information that this is the work I'm supposed to be doing. And really, it was birthed from the birth of my child. The way I viewed parenting completely shifted when it became my own child. I was an aunt first, and I had never loved a soul more than I loved my sweet niece, and she changed my world. Yet, when it was my own child, the level of intense, inner intention and thought and being and cultivation that I wanted to completely shifted. And I was searching around, the internet and the resources for what fully resonated with me on how I wanted to raise my child. And I could not find something that embodied this own personal healing journey that I was on. So she was my inspiration to create this work and this philosophy in my company and to be doing the work that I'm doing now.
Like we have heard before, our children are our teachers, right? Mm-hmm. And so that continues to be so, it seems like. So do you have a child development background, or is this mostly from after she was born, you just dove deep in to this?
Yeah, so my background is actually wellness oriented, and from that coaching and consultation standpoint, I actually had a career on Wall Street. However, my first Wall Street job was like right out of college, was the first year I got my first health coaching certification. So as much as I had this 10-year career on Wall Street, I had this deep, deep passion for wellness. And I had my own healing journey. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and my hair fell out, and just this whole massive journey. I was told when I was even 19 years old, because I was so sick, that I wouldn't be able to have children and all of this stuff. So there was this really big physical, emotional, and spiritual journey that led up to it. So I'm, I'm a certified health coach, and I'm a master herbalist, and I've done quantum reflex analysis, and I'm certified in vinyasa, and I'm now certified in yoga nidra, which is a big piece of my work, which is all about the reprogramming of the subconscious mind, which is some of the biggest healing journey that we can be on as adults, so that we are mindfully, intentionally being aware of not only our own personal triggers that are going to determine the way we act and speak and our energy around our children, but what are we programming into our children? 0 to 7 is their major nervous system development, their brain development. And are we raising them with limiting belief systems or liberating belief systems? Are we raising them with the essence of true self-worth when we remove the guilt and shame from parenting? Are we giving them wealth consciousness? Are we giving them survival tools? Are we giving them healthy personal boundaries so they know where their world stops and the outside world begins, and how to honor themselves in relationship with other people? Like, all of these things that I don't believe we have this high intention of modeling to our children. I almost don't even like the word teach, because who am I to teach? I'm constantly unraveling. I'm here to support and guide. My daughter is my teacher. I mean, every day I'm actually trying to be more like her. And the more that I can heal my own stuff, the more that I can be in the vibration of wholeness that she's in. I'm on a journey of remembering, like a journey of remembrance, like remembering who I truly am. She knows who she is. And if I can honor that and cultivate that and keep that inner knowing in her, develop her intuition, then I have done my job as mama, like I feel like that's really my only job, and everything else is just perks and bonuses. And I get to love this child and learn from this child. And yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability and sharing where you came from, and then where you are right now, because that is the gift. That is the presence with childhood, where we are able to be present with them. But you have really, that you're able to articulate that why it's so important, and I think we are around us, our peers often are struggling with parenting with guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? That comes from our own childhood, how we were parented. And that's why we need to switch the conversation, how to stop playing that story, stop saying that story.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see the awareness comes through the pain in the moment. And I think the pain in the moment are the triggers, right? Like, how can a young child, 2, 3, 4, 5, ignite such huge emotional responses and feelings in them? It's not them, it's us. And which is why wholeness and self-care is such a big piece of my work. And in my virtual conscious parenting course, before we get into any conscious language or anything, it's what is the self-awareness? What does wholeness look like? What does self-care look like? I was just talking, I was like, I went to hot yoga. I need movement and breath and stillness and meditation to be able to show up to be the human I want to be, and especially the parent I want to be. But so often the blame goes on the child. They're just the mirror. They're just the reflection. They're just the opportunity for the healing. And if we view them as that, it goes beyond unconditional love. They truly become our greatest gift. And it may not be children for everyone. It could be, a friend. It could be a twin flame. It could be a soulmate, a partner. I just think that relationships are here to help us in the evolution of self. I say parenting is the greatest opportunity to evolve, yet I'm also a parent and a conscious parenting coach. I do think there's other opportunities. There's just something about creating a soul from your own being that is running in your DNA, that is mirroring, your own neurological pathways, that brings it to your awareness stronger than almost anything else can. Even partners, yes, we pick things up over time, but nothing is like the mirror neurons that's happening with our children.
Well, it's so interesting that you bring that up, because really children are just pure love. And so, when our children come into the world, that connection, I mean, I just remember that, these feelings of just unbelievable love. And I know some mothers that don't experience that right away as well. And so, this opportunity to develop that. But it's so interesting because love is also the antidote to fear. And I think that, right now we have a society that is so geared into this idea of fear-based. And when we look at so much of the challenge, so many of the challenges that are going on in society right now are related to, either childhoods of fear or adults dealing with fear. And so love is that antidote. And you spoke that so beautifully. And so when we can heal ourselves through love, and children, I think, are the ultimate, just that pure love that is the catalyst. And so, I've always said it, when mom's okay, everybody's okay. And it's a challenge for us to get that self-care that we need. And so, it's like, if there was a way to change society so that we're all as adults, fully actualized, and that we've done the healing before we have our children, what a different world this would be. But then when we have our children, that's the journey that we get to go through all of this together.
Yeah. Totally. And I hear this so often, I know how lucky I was for my world to kind of crash and burn at 19. I had 15 years plus of work before I got to meet my little girl. But many mamas, their spiritual awakening is the birth of their child. And they're having to be in relationship with probably the most important person to date for them, while also being in this new relationship of self-healing that they've never had to experience. And unlike so many other things, there's no rule book or handbook for motherhood and this parenting journey. And, some of my work is getting to that place, like bringing this work into the childbirth education, bringing this work into preconception, bringing this work into people that are, just the ounce of a future desire for a family. Okay, now is the time to do the work. Let's do this now. Why wait to take care of yourself? That's our mindset in society of like, once I get there, then, we know that equation doesn't work, Now is the most powerful time we have. Presence is the most powerful thing we have. Attention, presence, awareness. These are all the greatest forms of love, just what you were talking about with ourselves and with all the relationships that we have in our life. So yes, I feel like we're moving in that direction. And if I continue to do the work that I'm doing and that is not slowing down at all, then I believe we're going to get there.
So can we go a little bit like some practical?
Yeah.
You've said a few things, and for me, I love the opportunity for healing. I love that motherhood is the opportunity for healing. And part of the healing is recognizing your own triggers, is recognizing when you get triggered and then we react. And so we want to use self-care and everything so we can recognize those triggers. But what else can we use when our child is upset, going through something? How can we honor them and then in turn honor ourselves when we are getting triggered by behavior?
Yeah, wow, this is such a big topic. So this was my topic last night in honoring big feelings in your child and yourself. It's week 6 of my conscious parenting course, but literally there's 5 weeks of preparation to get to that topic. So it's a weighted question because there's so much that I believe, and we can do it in the moment, and there's tools, and I work with families, and literally after one session, there's an energetic shift. I think honestly, the most important piece is the download and the understanding that things can be different. That is the biggest thing that I see so often. So many families are stuck in old ways of parenting, and they don't even know that something can be different. So that's the first piece, the separation of parent from child. So how can you, and this is one of the biggest things to sit with, how can you be completely comfortable within your child's discomfort? That's number one. So often we get completely swept up in our child's emotion and fear, right? What we were talking about, fear comes up and we panic. Like, I did something wrong. My child's going to hurt, like childhood trauma, my parents yelling at me, the fears of this, like it all comes rolling back. And most of us have decades and a lifetime of these patterns. So like anything else, you know, when we get into an argument with like exes or partners, one little thing blows up to a big thing, right? Because it's not that one thing. It's like all the other times that it happens. So just having the awareness that my child's having a hard time, and it doesn't mean that I'm bad or not good or my child's not okay. And how can I separate my emotional response from theirs? And the number one thing that we can do initially is realize that we're triggered by those big feelings. And not every parent is, you know, I'm in a really good place that I can like sit in my child's discomfort, but it's, you know, it's years of work. And some parents can naturally do it. However, when I ask it in workshops, like who's completely comfortable with their child falling apart, like, it was very rare that I get a hand up. And so seeing them, being able to be comfortable with them falling apart and realizing our first job, instead of trying to fix it, instead of trying to make the feelings go away, is how can we calm down and down regulate our nervous system so that we can help our child get to a place of understanding. Because most often when a child is struggling with that, you know, emotional being, they're not in their logical mind, right? They are in their emotional body. They are feeling everything, and all they can feel is that emotion. And so if we can help them through our presence, through our love, through our breath, through acknowledging them, validating them, seeing them, you know, just being there. So often it's like anything else. How many women on the planet, we don't want to be fixed, right? We just want to be validated and heard when we're going through something, which is why normally, like in a male-female relationship, when the woman is in pain, the male tries to fix them, right? And then we go talk to our girlfriends and they just hear us. And then all of a sudden we talk through our own stuff and we're completely okay, you know, 20 minutes later, because we've gotten that oxytocin hit. Our hormones have come into balance with like our female friend, and we've been heard and validated, and we've been able to express that. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? Emotional intelligence, emotional freedom. Like that's probably one of the biggest things I speak on, is how do we allow the full expression of our child's emotions, even the ones that are labeled as less than in our society. Like I think rage and fury and frustration and all, they're labeled as less than, right? Happy is on a pedestal. Joy is on a pedestal. And our children, unfortunately, they get the brunt of having to be happy all the time, having to be on all the time. And like, really on them? If anything else, put that on someone else. Like they are in this world experiencing everything, and try to put that expectation on them that they have to be okay every day. I'm not okay every day. You know, I need to feel sadness. I need to feel, you know, anger. I need to feel all of these things. They make me the whole human that I'm constantly trying to be. So, I mean, this is such a, if I'm wanting to explain it fully, it's, you know, it's a whole podcast on its own. But I think what I'm getting at is seeing that our children having big feelings is okay. Realizing that it's not about us, and that our job is just to hold space for them. And then eventually and we don't want to squash it, right? We don't want to make that feeling go away. If anything, what I've always done is I've leaned into my daughter's emotions. I'm like, give me everything you need. Let it all out. I want to teach you that it is safe, you know, to express everything you need. And I've got your back. I'm your person. I am here. It is safe. I got you, you know? And then from that place, then we move to logic. Then we move to, wow, I saw you were really struggling. And, you know, next time I can't let you, blah, blah, blah. You set the limit. You set the boundary. You dive into the world of problem solving, you know, but not until, right? Not until we have honored and seen and validated and heard and all of the things that I think every adult human is craving, and maybe is just unaware of it.
I think that's the thing, is that people are unaware. People, and I like what you said in the beginning. I really like that you said you give people the idea, the hope that it could look different. It can look different. It doesn't have to look like it did when you were a child. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where parents, when we birth, we think it's going to look like that, unless we take a deeper look, unless we have people in our lives like you, and I'd like to say like Maria and I, who are saying you can do it better. You can do it in a way where children are being held, they are being listened to, they are being validated instead. And so the work we're doing is so important. You give me so much hope. So I so appreciate that. Because I think, one of the conscious parenting myths is happy children. And yet we put that on them so much, and another one of a conscious parenting myth that I've learned is that parents always need to be in control.
Oh my God. If parents need to be in control, I'd be the worst parent.
Right.
Ever.
Right. But that's what we think. We think it's, I'm not saying we, but I'm saying like our society, it's like top down. That's what we've been doing. And it's at such a disservice.
Yeah.
And I think that having children helps us understand that we don't have control. I mean, we think we have our life in, XYZ shape, and then we have children and we surrender that. Yeah. And I think that's part of it, is learning to surrender to the process. And a lot of times parents have this expectation that it's going to be a certain way. Yeah. And then they have a child that's different than they expected, or there's, the different personalities or learning challenges, or just, the emotions that come up. Mm-hmm. And what you're talking about is so beautiful, helping people understand this. And I can also see how much work that you've done to get to this place, to be able to be that container for your daughter. And what keeps coming up for me is when we have parents that are in different places on that continuum of their own work, when, mom and dad are on different pages, or mom and mom, or dad and dad, or, whoever it is, or single parents, or the grandparents, or, you have different caregivers. Yeah. And how to help everybody get on that same page of this continuum of understanding the child's emotional needs. And so do you work with moms and dads? And so, can you give us some hints there, or tips there, in terms of how you work with parents in general?
Yeah. So I work with the whole family unit. When my clients are in LA, I actually go and I have an initial consultation and observation, and I digest the entire family dynamic, right? Because it's the belief systems of the dad, it's the belief systems of the mom, it's the belief systems of the nanny and the grandparents. It's all coming in. Children are so influenced at this young age, right? They're getting downloads from everyone. So I work with the entire family unit. And the more that we as parents, whether I'm a single mama, so I'm in a co-parenting relationship. But one of the things that I pride myself on is that my ex and I parent from the same perspective. We have the same language, we have the same limits and boundaries. So, yes, my girl, she has two homes, right? But she is getting the same messaging, and obviously you're so right. My ex and I were on, very different places on our spiritual journey. So it's okay to be there too. I don't want to paint this perfect picture because life is so far from perfect. However, when a child gets the same conscious language, has the same limits and boundaries, it creates so much more ease for the entire family unit. Think about it. Children, this is one of the biggest misconceptions I like to kind of, wipe off the table, is children don't manipulate, right? Children are just learning from their environment. And the way I always describe it is like party A does this, party B does this, contract form with your child. Party A does this, party B does this, contract form. So when two parents are forming two different contracts around the same thing, it's not a child manipulating behavior. It's saying, well, when I asked mom 6 times, I got that. So I'm going to push dad's buttons until I got that, because I just learned that over here from mom. So it's literally a child learning from their environment, which is why getting everyone on the same page as much as possible is so powerful for the child. Yet I also understand that we have to honor the different places that the different people are in our world, right? Like my parents are at a very different, conscious level, awareness than I am, right? And my daughter is going to be way more aware than I am. I just think that's the way it goes, right? We're becoming more and more aware, and it's not always like that. But typically we see that, right? Like the work I'm doing, I I know deep in my soul that I'm healing, the lineage up the line. I know this work is affecting my mother. Our relationship is the best it's ever been. I know it's affecting my grandmothers. I know it's affecting my grandchildren. And this is, part of my why. It's my girl, but it's beyond that. It's for my girls' girls and my girls' boys and down the line. This work, it ripples through generations up and down. So having that compassionate awareness, I think to be on a spiritual journey, it is truly accepting people for where they're at and who they are and not trying to change them, and this goes into everything. So when I got to a place of like fully loving and accepting my parents for who they are, I just got to a place of I am personal boundaries. So instead of being like, you need to do this, you need to talk to my kid this way, you need to do this, we can share from a loving perspective, right? This comes up so often in my parenting workshops. Like, what do I do with my grandparents? Like they come in and they're like downloading all this stuff. They don't let my child feel. And, and not every grandparent is like that, right? We're speaking to a very aware, conscious one right now. But being able to, like last week, I described it as a love sandwich. Like, Mom, one mama was asking, like, what do I do with my mom? Like, she's in town. I'm really triggered by her. Like, she's not letting my child cry, like all these things happening. And I said, what if you were able to communicate to your mom in this, engulfment of love? So first we honor our parent, because every person is doing the best they can with the tools they have. I believe that. So Mom, I love you so much. Like, I'm so happy you're here. And I'm so grateful you're helping me with my girl. And I've been diving really deep into this conscious parenting journey. And I've been really trying to honor, Olivia's feelings. And I'm wondering if you could help me do that. Right. And then you end it with like, and thank you so much. So what, I don't want to go to, I normally it's way more than that, but I'm trying to, short and succinct is like, what we're saying is we honor the person for doing the best they can. Then we step into our place of personal boundaries and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then we ask for help, because it is so much easier for people to help than it is to be like, you need to change, you need to be different, you need to be something other than what you are, versus like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Are you willing to help? Is that something you're available for? And then we end it with gratitude and appreciation, and we have a non-attached, detached relationship to it actually happening. And that is when we are in like full love and presence, and we are trusting the process. And if it moves the dial a little, amazing. And if it's not, how do we love this person fully still in the moment? And that's like some serious work, but the other routes, they don't work, right? The defensive walls go up, the triggers go up, and then people shut down. And in being shut down, we're disconnected. And when we're disconnected, we're not in that optimal human relating experience. That is when like flow and connection and love happens, is when we are in this deep, vulnerable, open-hearted versions of ourselves, and in that example, that is what that I, shared with that mom to do. Like, ask your mom for help. Tell her what you're doing. Tell her what you're working on. Tell her what is important to you, and see if she's available, and love her no matter what the answer is. And then we do our own self work, right? Like, it all comes back to self. Like, putting any responsibility on the other person for your self evolution or change is a uphill battle, is a brick wall. It's not going to get us what we want. Like, oh, if you're different, then I'll be better. If you change, then I can do that. It's all the if and then. They don't really work. So, I mean, it works a little bit in teaching our children natural and logical consequences. Like, oh, if that hard truck goes flying, I'm going to have to put it up for now, but not in the other ways of life.
So many gems there. And, I think of, Sheila always says connection before correction. And
yes.
It's so important, these connections. And also, this ability to really tap into the work that we have to do. The only person we can change is ourselves. And so it all comes back to that. It's like there's certain key tenets that always are there. And I'm also acutely aware of the fact that also this takes time, it takes energy, it takes presence, it takes intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I work, in the work that I do one-on-one with families and with moms, what I'm seeing is this inability to even take those steps. There's such intensity, there's such stress, there's such out of balance type of, the factors in their lives. They're just trying to get by.
Yep.
So how do you speak to families about that in terms of, when mom and dad might be working or a single parent and you're trying to make sure that you get the self-care, but oh my gosh, if I even got a shower in today, that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you work with families in terms of, really addressing that balance of getting their own needs taken care of and the needs of everybody in the family?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I see time and time again, especially with my mamas, is that lack of permission to take care of themselves. And sometimes them hiring me and me coming in, I become the permission. I am there as a reflection that it is okay for you to take time for you. And as cliche as it is, it's the easiest example. We have to put our oxygen mask on first. And in doing that, though, we have to break all the stories of what, quote unquote, a good mom is, like this like martyr of where we just give all of ourselves. That does not serve our child. And what are the belief systems going on the back end? Like, one of the things I had to unravel as a mom and a woman and as an adult was I don't have to do everything. My mother did everything. She cooked, she cleaned, she worked full time, she paid half the bills. She was at every single thing. She did everything. And I love my mama, but like the little girl in me that's now grown up, I want to like hold my mama and say, like, you are enough. You did enough. Like, you did more than enough. Like, I've got you. I want to take care of you, and the sooner that we learn that, because also this example right here, what are we teaching our children? I had to unravel and unpack the fact that I don't have to do everything. And in many ways I've played that out, right? And I'm finally on the other side of that, 3 years into my single mama journey, but let's look at my life a little bit, right? I went into single motherhood like 3 years ago, the whole world was on me, and I recreated that pattern with a much more like a higher level of awareness, and I was doing the work, but I can finally say I'm in a place where I put my needs at the same level, if not sometimes even above my daughter's. Like, in the moment, her needs come first, always, right? But I come back to my needs. I come back to my needs every day because I see the way that, I posted about this yesterday, the veil of the line between ourselves and our triggers gets so thin if we are not taking care of ourselves, right? And all of a sudden, like, our stuff, our stress, our fight or flight response system, our nervous, like, we just dump, and our child is right there and they are getting the brunt of it. So I always say, if you can't show up to do the self-care for you, do it for your child. Do it for modeling this, practices of self-care are the greatest form of self-love. And if we are showing these practices to our children, we are cultivating this idea of self-love. And underneath self-love is self-worth. And when we are in a high state of self-worth, then we are gifting our children the belief system that they are worthy of every single thing they need, they want, they desire in this world. They're worthy of healthy relationships. They are worthy of happiness. They are worthy of success. They are worthy of prosperity, whatever. They are worthy of service, whatever it is, right? This is where we begin to teach them. If our child sees us running ourselves into the ground, we are programming that into their future belief system, and that's the operating system they're going to be working on. So we have to come back, and it is permission. Let's stop putting on a pedestal. The more you work, the better you are. Like, let's put on a pedestal. The more you sit in stillness, the more you realize that just who you are is enough, then the better you are. I don't like the word better. I don't like good or bad or better or worse. I kind of don't like that. I just like, evolve. I like evolve. I'm just constantly evolving. So, and I think there's a big misconception that self-care needs to happen in separateness. I am such an advocate of teaching my mamas that there should be self-care in front of your children, self-care with your children and self-care on your own. And if you're in partnership, also self-care in partnership, right? If we are constantly closing the door and doing our self-care behind closed doors, we're losing that modeling opportunity of how we're taking care of ourselves in front of our children. I've never closed the door on my meditation to my daughter. My daughter has been seeing me meditate her whole life. And sometimes she wants to meditate with me. Sometimes she wants to teach me a yoga class. She's taught in Kriyas in our kitchen, and mantras. And, she sees it. She's been coming to Kundalini yoga with me since she was 2 years old, sitting through 90-minute meditation classes. She comes to the gym with me. I bring her to my chiropractic appointments. I bring her to my cranial sacral. She sees me taking care of myself. We talk about healing hands. Like, my back was hurting the other day and she's like, Mama, can I use my healing hands on you? Like, just bringing this level of awareness to our children of that we don't always feel good, and it's okay not to feel good. And we have to move into action and self-care when we don't, right? When there's like something physically off in our body or emotionally off in our body. And what does that look like? And I'm also teaching her that she has the power as an individual to heal herself. It took me 35 years to figure out I could heal myself. I had my first self-healing experience about 3 years ago. And I'm 38 years old. Like, I don't want her to have to go through 35 years of learning to realize, like, hey, you got this, girl. You know yourself and your body better than anyone else. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust those gut instincts. Follow those pings. Like, move in the direction of your heart and your inner knowing. And so my point is, in these separations, I know I can go so deep into these things. I get really passionate and excited, is start now with anything. The first place I start is self-care looks like 3 long, slow, deep breaths. Anyone can do 3 long, slow, deep breaths. It's also the greatest tool. Breath is an incredible tool to bring us back into that state of separate. I'm separate from my child. Her emotional experience right now, it's not mine. How can I calm myself and my body so that I can address her needs, right? If we aren't separate, then all of a sudden her emotional response and big feelings becomes our problem versus our awareness that it's just our responsibility to be there and support, not to fix and solve, right? So 3 long, slow, deep breaths, drinking extra water. I mean, you guys are, wellness experts here, right? Like, we all know that we have to take care of ourselves, after I had my girl, I literally got rid of all grain, sugar, and starch in my world because I was accelerating my healing and learned how to do the bone broth and the gaps and all of that. Cause I was like, I need to nurture my body, and this is the way I'm going to do it so I can nurture the soul. And our children are an opportunity for that. I was like, I'm breastfeeding. I want to put the most amazing things in my body possible. And I know not everyone has those tools, right? It was easier for me because I had a massive wellness background. So I just want to put it out there that work with what you have. It's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay not to know what to do next, but start with something now. Start with breath now. Start with upping your water now. Start for asking for help now. Hey, friend, when you have a play date with my daughter, could I slip away and run home and do 10 minutes of yoga, 20 minutes of yoga? And then you build this relationship. I have a great neighbor and we help each other out, right? She watches my girl and I go do something for myself. I watch her boy, and she's able to have downtime, whatever that looks like. So it's about giving permission. It's about starting it now. It's about modeling it for our children in many aspects of life, not closing the door to our self-care, and constantly having that awareness of I'm off. Am I taking care of myself? What's going on with me? And every time our child's off, before we just project out into the world, is it because she's transitioning to kindergarten? Is it this? Also come back to self. What's going on with me? What am I modeling right now? What's going on in my world? I've been working so much lately and I'm constantly having to be okay, I need to my moments with my girl have to be so deeply rich. I'm turning off my cell phone. I'm shutting things down because I'm away a lot now, more than ever before in her life. I was such a there for everything mama from 0 to 4 and just ran my business on the lowest level to be the most present mama I could be. And I know not everyone has that opportunity. I just scaled down my life. I scaled down my world because I knew 0 to 4 was, I was all in with her. And from 4 to now almost 6, I've been revving up my life, and it's been a big transition for her. But I need to do this for us and for me. And it's this honoring. And I'm sharing this because we talked about this before the call, like being open to the ever shifting world, right? Being aware of like, okay, am I honoring me? Am I honoring the changes in my world? Am I honoring the changes in the season? Am I honoring the developmental stages in my child? Am I just bringing all of this to awareness? So it's a super long answer of like how to take care of yourself. But I just love dropping as many nuggets as possible, because sometimes there's just one thing that one mama or one papa catches on to, and that's the ripple, right? That's the ripple that causes the wave, that causes the shift. And all of a sudden they say, yes, I am ready to make this change. I want to do this for me. I want to do this for my children. And I'm starting here. And it's okay that I don't know anything else but this. And I'm going to put my foot, one foot in front of the next, and I'm going to trust, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to reach out for help, and I'm going to listen to all the Moms I Know podcasts, and I'm going to listen to all the podcasts on my website. I'm just going to download what I can, as many resources as possible. And that's one of the ways, of the many ways.
Thank you so much. That was a fabulous response. I forget what the question was exactly, but it was just like what you just said, like I hope that spoke to somebody, some of those nuggets there. And the nugget that got me was that this is, how do I say this? So often the criticism of self-care is it's from a place of privilege. Mm-hmm. And you really, you unpack that piece, because everybody can do this. This is opportunity for everybody, but take the action, move forward, because you are limiting yourself with your your self-limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. And once we step out, then that's where the growth will happen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Self-care could be, hey, we're going to go to the beach today. We have no plans. We're going to take our shoes off. We're going to ground into the sand. We're going to get our feet wet. We're going to do something different. Like, it doesn't have to be like I go to Pilates, Monday through Friday. It doesn't have to be that. Self-care could be having an impromptu dance party in your living room. Yeah. It could be laughing harder than you've let yourself laugh in years. It could be calling a friend you haven't talked to in a decade and reliving, a childhood memory that made you feel more empowered and alive than ever before. It's rekindling, it's sitting in a ball on the floor, giving your inner child a hug. It could be anything, it could be, for me, sometimes it's a piece of raw adaptogenic sugar-free chocolate, and I just sit and I eat my chocolate and I do nothing for a minute. It could be whatever it looks like, and so yeah, a takeaway is let it be yours.
Let it be yours.
Exactly. Let it be yours.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, I am sad to we keep our podcasts about this time, and I can keep on talking with you because I feel like we've just begun, and this conversation is so needed. So Maria and I so appreciate you taking the time today and sharing with our listeners. But how can our listeners learn more about you, and what programs do you have? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So my company is WellyNest. So WELLY and then Nest. And you can find me on Instagram. My website is just WellyNest.com. All of my services are up there. If you're in Los Angeles, I do workshops at least once a month locally here. And I work with private clients across the globe. So wherever you are, we can work together. And I teach a virtual conscious parenting course, which is also an incredible group modality tool. It becomes this really juicy, sacred container of evolution. And it's an 8-week conscious parenting journey course. I'm currently in week 6 of the one I'm running right now, but the next one is in September, and I try to run them a couple times a year. And this takes us through, 8 weeks of having the support system you need to say yes to this work. And sometimes we need that. I mean, I know I need that. A lot of my work in self-care is I'm looking to other people. I go outside the home as much as I go within. It's this balance. So that's some of the work that I do, and it's always evolving. And I have some fun things coming up soon. But I'll save that for another day. Those are some of the main ways you can find me and work with me, and download some of this stuff if you're open. And
like you said earlier, this is such important work, and it's the work that Sheila and I have chosen. It's obviously the work that you have chosen or that has chosen you, or, sometimes I feel as if these things just unfold, and you're obviously open to such inspiration that is coming. And I just really appreciate what you've shared with us today, and that you are reaching out to the many, many people out there. And we've talked about this before with, the moms I know. We reach out to the moms that we know, and then they reach out to the moms that they know. And you even talked about that in terms of the girlfriends or the friends. It's when we have these conversations, when we have these connections, that change can happen. And so I really appreciate everything that you've shared today. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. You're such light. It's been a juicy container of love.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time on The Moms I Know.
Thanks for joining us today for The Moms I Know. To learn more about Sheila and her online program, The Mom Map, visit purplebeetnutrition.com. For Maria's monthly blog and to learn more about her group programs and retreats, visit soquelessentials.com. That's SOQUEL essentials.com. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Moms I Know. Until next week, have a joyful family journey.